Hello everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to all the bats. I hope you've all brought your bats today. Did you get the memo? Please bring a bat with you to tonight's stream. We're going to be looking at the money trail today, folks. Nice little segment of witnesses in the prosecution's case against Charlie Adelson. We've been through Jeff, we've been through Wendy, we've been through Luis Rivera and Katherine Magbanua being mostly honest on the stand, or at least somewhat, at least a damn sight more than in her own trials, right? What did she say in her own trials? We were making a lot of money at the clubs. I would walk out of there with $1,500 of tips every single day. Really? Well, sounds like a pretty good job. It's not even long hours. I mean, you just prance around in a bikini with a drink with sparklers on it. I could do that. I gotta get me one of those. Gonna go and work in Club Fate in Miami. Anyway, today we're going to be looking at the two employees. That's Clarita Labredo and Erica Johnson, who worked at the Adelson office, dental office. Clarita Labredo actually worked there since 1979. She was Harvey Adelson's dental assistant for 40 years. Can you imagine that? I mean, can you just... That's not common. That's not common to have worked in the same job for the same guy for 40 years, especially that kind of thing. And especially as a dental assistant, right? I mean, that's the kind of thing where you... Isn't that the kind of thing where you change all the time? You know, it's not quite the same as bar work or something like that, but I think that's the kind of thing... That's not a 40-year career. Anyway, Clarita Labredo is going to tell us all about her long stint of employment with the Adelson Institute. She's going to tell us about the money patterns. She's going to tell us how she was paid and, her salary worked and everything like that. Because don't forget that Katie was receiving checks, stacks of checks signed by Donna Adelson, sometimes in large batches of sequentially numbered checks that Donna Adelson would clearly just write out. Oh, it's check writing time again. Where's my check writing pen? And just to save time, to get it out of the way. This is how careless they were. Stuff like money laundering is so important to maintain all of the surrounding things. This is a great example. Sequential checks. If you're hiding money, everything has to be like completely normal. You can't have one even small thing that's out of the ordinary. If you have a stack of checks that are all numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it wasn't 1, 2, 3, 4, but you know what I mean. In order. That's a flag. That's a big flag. Erica Johnson's going to mainly testify about when the FBI came to the dental office, came to the Adelson Institute, and asked to see the employment records for Katherine Magbanua. Of course, those employment records did not exist. But that's when Charlie Adelson really, really feels the walls closing in, because Erica Johnson contacts Charlie Adelson on a recorded wiretap and says the FBI are here asking for Katie's employment records for when she worked at the dental office. And Charlie Adelson, dumb fuck that he might be, is smart enough to work out that if the FBI are asking for those records, the only way that they would know that they would think that Katie had worked at the office was if they had gone through her financial accounts and found checks from the Adelson Institute. So it's one of the best calls. It's one of the best exemplar calls of Charlie Adelson shitting himself on the phone. Most of the other times he's trying to maintain, especially when he's talking to Donna, he's trying to maintain, hey, I've got this, we're handling it. We're gonna buy our way out of this and we're gonna be fine. But on that call with Erica Johnson, when the FBI are there, you really hear him not having a clue what to do. It's really funny. I hope they play it. And then we're moving on to the forensic financial analyst who went over Katie's employment, well, all of her financials basically, before the murder, after the murder, during the murder. Well, not during the murder, but around that time. And she's going to tell us a bunch of stuff. And then we'll see how far we get. There's this cop who's next up on the witness list. He's on the right-hand side of the thumbnail there. I don't remember what he says. I don't remember the context of that. He's not a very long witness, so I guess we'll get that covered. And then we're moving on to Sergeant Chris Corbett, mobile phone cellular tower expert. But he's a lengthy witness, so we may cut it off at the beginning of his testimony. Anyway, that's what we're doing today. Welcome everybody in chat. We're making good time as we move through this. I think it's going to be... We're on episode 7. It's probably going to end up being a 12-part special. So enjoy that and look forward to the rest of the trial as we move through. Okay, let's go. Let's get it rolling.
Everyone but the witness may be seated. Please raise your right hand, ma'am. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
You may take your seat. Please speak loudly and clearly.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Will you tell us your name and spell it for our court reporter, please?
Clarita, Clariza, Labredo, Lebredo.
And did you work at the Adelson Institute for a number of years?
Yes,
About how many years did you work there?
almost 40 years.
Okay, and was the Adelson Institute sold about 2 years ago to another dental practice?
Yes,
And do you still work at that dental practice
Yes.
that they were sold to?
yes.
All right, where was the Adelson Institute located?
So she works at the Adelson Institute, or at least under Harvey Adelson, for 40 years. I know they changed the name not that long before everything happened. But then the dental practice is sold to another dentist, and she works for him in the same office. Never really wanted to stretch your legs, Clarita? Maybe go and work in Paris for a year. Go and work in India for a year. See the world. No? Okay. Tamarack, Florida, please.
Tamarack,
Tamarack, about how far is that from Miami?
about 30 miles.
And is the exact address 7737 University Drive in Tamarack?
Yes,
All right. The Adelson Institute's was a dental office, right?
dental office, yes.
Okay. The questions I'm going to ask you about the Adelson Institute are about the years from 2013 to 2016, okay?
Okay.
What was your position at the Adelson Institute during that time?
Dental assistant?
Okay. And did you ever work the front desk?
No.
And do you know Dr. Harvey Adelson?
Yes.
And did you know his wife, Donna Adelson?
Yes.
Did both of them work there during 2013 to 2016?
Yes.
Okay, and what was Dr. Harvey Adelson's job at the Adelson Institute?
He was the dentist.
Okay, and was there another dentist that worked there as well?
Charlie worked there too.
Okay, Charlie Adelson?
Yes, Charlie Adelson.
All right, and what was Donna Adelson's role at the Adelson Institute?
Donna was our office manager.
Okay. And how long have you known the Adelson family?
40 years, over 40 years.
So ever since you began working there. It was Adelson Institute even back then.
The name changed, but it was always a dental practice.
Okay. And you've known their family for 40 years.
Yes.
All right. In addition to Harvey Adelson, Donna Adelson, and Charlie Adelson, back from 2013 to 2016, I want to ask you about the other people that worked there. What about Erica Johnson? Did she work there during those years?
Yes.
And what was her role there?
She was front desk, and she was Charlie's assistant.
Okay. And was there also a hygienist?
Yes.
And was her name Amy?
Yes.
Okay. And was that all of the office staff?
Yes.
Okay, so Donna.
So in the last two trials, Clarissa had a habit of saying only the word no, but in very different ways. It would go like this. It would be like, no, no, I don't know. And that's switched now. It's now yes all the time, isn't it? Yes. And she pronounces it with the same kind of, almost sounds a bit like a lisp, but it's just her mother tongue, I guess. Yes. Yes.
Adelson, Harvey Adelson, Charlie Adelson, you, Erica Johnson, and Amy the hygienist.
Correct.
Those were the employees of the Adelson Institute during those
It's not correct, Clarissa. It's yes.
years.
Yes.
Yay!
What were the Adelson Institute business hours during that time?
9 to 5, and we had a late night.
Okay, was it 9 to 5 only 3 days a week?
Yes.
Was that Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday were the 9 to 5 hours?
Yes.
Was Wednesday the late night hour?
Late night was Wednesday, 11 to 7.
11 to 7, okay. I guess to try to accommodate the people that had a hard time coming during regular business hours.
Right, yes.
All right, and did the doctors routinely see patients on Fridays or on the weekends?
Emergencies only.
Okay, so that wasn't a routine thing for them to
No.
do. And Adelson Institute did not have operating hours on Friday or the weekends, correct?
No.
Now, back during those years, if a patient called Adelson Institute on a Friday or on a weekend, would it be routed to voicemail?
Yes.
And when y'all came in on Monday morning, would somebody check that answering machine to return the calls of patients?
Yes.
Who had access to employee records?
The Adelsons.
Okay, so that's not something you would have access
No.
to?
No.
And when you say the Adelsons, you mean the Adelsons that work
Donna
there?
and Dr. Adelson.
Okay, thank you. Do you remember 2 law enforcement officers coming to Adelson Institute back on June 1st of 2016 at about 11 a.m.?
Yes.
And did they ask you if you were familiar with an employee named Katherine Magbanua?
Yes.
Are you familiar with an employee named Katherine? I'm sorry, with a person named Katherine Magbanua?
Yes.
Okay, and how do you know Katherine Magbanua?
From the office.
Okay, from being a patient at the office or being an employee at the office?
No, a patient.
Patient. And about how many times did you see her there as a patient?
I believe 2 or 3 times.
Okay, did you provide...
Julia Rock says she probably got a good raise. Well, not from the Adelsons. Maybe when she went to, hopefully, a real non-crook slave trader dentist bought the practice after. I mean, the Adelsons paid shit. I think they said that they were on $11 an hour or something after 40 years of work. Yeah, we're putting you up to $11.04 an hour. Well done. Well done. Just something to show our appreciation for your 4 decades of dedication. 1104.
Testimony in another proceeding for a co-defendant's case back in May of 2022. Did you provide testimony in another proceeding in a co-defendant's case back in May of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm gonna show you.
Fucking hell! It looks like that Nightbot rubbed off on riding shotgun. She's got busy thumbs today.
Your prior testimony. I'm looking at page 1226, lines 6 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's been quite a while. Looking at those lines, when you were asked how many times had she been a patient, did you say once?
I said once that day, yes.
In your 40 years with the Adelson Institute, had you ever seen Katherine Magbanua at Adelson Institute as anything other than a patient?
No.
When investigators asked you about Katherine Magbanua that day, if you were familiar with her as being an employee there, and you said no, who did you refer them to? Which employee at Adelson Institute? Erica? Okay. And Erica was kind of working front desk at that time?
Yes.
All right. And then from there on, Erica spoke to the investigators?
Yes.
How did you get paid by Adelson Institute?
With checks.
And about how often would you get checks from them?
Every 2 weeks.
Had you ever been paid for weeks of work prior to completing your work there?
Yes.
When that would happen, would it be because the Adelson family was going out of town or going on a vacation for a couple of
Right.
weeks?
They
at
were
a
going
time?
away. They were going on vacation, so we got paid before.
About how often would that happen?
Maybe once or twice a year.
Okay, so just once or twice a year. And when that would happen, how many paychecks would you get at one time?
2.
2. All right. Would you ever get 4, 5, 6 paychecks in a row?
No.
Have you ever been aware of any Adelson Institute employee in the history of your employment there that has worked exclusively by phone or remotely?
No.
Did the Adelson Institute have a cleaning service at that time?
Yes.
And was it a husband and wife team?
Yes.
And have you seen those people before?
Yes.
Okay.
I know who they are. I knew
know-
who they were. Yes.
Was Katherine Magbanua part of that team?
No.
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
No questions, Your Honor.
The witness
No
will
questions.
step down. Will she be recalled at any point?
No, sir.
Have a good day, ma'am.
They called Erica Johnson.
Didn't look at Charlie. See that?
No questions, Your Honor.
The witness may step down. Will she be recalled at any point?
No, sir.
Have a good day, ma'am.
They called Erica Johnson.
Junam Chinder almost went and sat on his lap.
Judge, can I sit on the defendant's lap for the rest of the trial? It's just, I haven't seen him since he was taken away, and our relationship he was the perfect guy. He was like my perfect guy, except for the murder and the cheating, but he was my perfect guy. I practically lived at his house.
Clarissa and Erica are both fully dressed in black. Imagine Imagine them seeing at the Muffin House
Please
next
raise your
door
right
to the
hand,
court.
ma'am. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? You may take your seat. Please speak loudly and clearly.
Good morning. Will you introduce yourself?
Very, very warm smile from Charlie there. And I did wonder at some point whether he was doinking Erica. You know, there was some text message from Katie or June or some girl that was saying, "Where were you? Your phone was off," and da da da. He was like, "I was having dinner with Erica." Is that what we're calling it now?
Self and spell your name for the court reporter, please.
Erica Johnson, ErikaJohnson.
And did you work at the Adelson Institute for a number of years?
Yes,
For about how long?
about 11 years.
And were you employed there from 2013 to 2016 during those years?
Yes,
And what was your job there at that time?
front desk.
Okay, were you also kind of worked as an assistant to Charlie Adelson and the front desk?
Yes,
What were your tasks at the front desk?
making appointments, collecting payments.
All right. Were you the primary person who did that for Adelson Institute?
Yes,
Did Adelson Institute often deal in cash for their services?
sometimes.
Would sometimes they offer cash discounts for their dental work?
Yes,
Back during the time period of 2013 to 2016, did Clarita Labredo, Harvey Adelson, Charlie Adelson, Donna Adelson, and Amy the hygienist, were those the other employees of Adelson Institute besides yourself?
yes,
And were the Adelson Institute business hours Monday through Thursday, kind of regular work hours, 9 to 5, and then on Wednesdays would be a late day from 11 to 7?
yes,
And those were the operating hours Monday through Thursday of the Adelson Institute?
yes,
So back in 2014 to 2016, if a patient called the office and it was closed, would a voicemail a call, would it go to a voicemail machine?
yes,
And would you be responsible for checking that message when you arrived on Monday morning?
yes,
All right, I want to talk to you about an incident back in on June 1st of 2016 at about 11 a.m. Do you remember two law enforcement officers coming to Adelson Institute?
yes,
And did they ask you about Katherine Magbanua?
yes,
Were they asking you whether or not Katherine Magbanua worked at Adelson Institute?
yes,
And did they ask you for employee records related to Katherine Magbanua?
yes,
Now, did you have access to her employee records there?
no,
Who at the Adelson Institute had access to employee records?
the owners of the business.
So the Adelsons, okay. Meaning Donna, Harvey, or Charlie?
Correct.
When police asked you for the records, did you call Donna Adelson
No,
or Harvey Adelson?
no,
Did you call Charlie Adelson?
yes,
Okay, and when you called Charlie Adelson to let him know that law enforcement was there and what they were asking about, did you step away from them a little bit to the back of the office to make that call?
yes,
Now, at the time, did you know that the call was being recorded?
no,
Have you had an
No.
opportunity to listen to that call in prior proceedings and also before court today?
yes,
And was it your and Charlie Adelson's voices in that call?
yes,
From your memory, is it an accurate recording of that conversation that day?
yes,
This time I move States 106, the call that Erica Johnson made to Charlie Adelson, into evidence.
Oh, good.
States
This is
106.
fucking hilarious.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, the FBI is here asking for records for Katie.
For what?
That she works here.
I wouldn't give anything.
Yeah, and they
I don't know.
they asked did she work there? I was like, yeah, she works there, but I don't know what you want. Because remember we
Erica.
said,
I would not give anything. Well, there's nothing to give, Charlie. There are no records.
Erica,
yeah.
do me a favor. I'm not there right now,
Uh-huh.
and I'm in surgery,
Uh-huh.
but
Doctors can always use that as an excuse for anything, can't they? I'm in surgery right now. I'm sorry, I can't talk. I'm actually in surgery. So, you know, a patient's life is in my hands. I'm going to use that, even though I don't have a medical degree and I'm not in any way a medical professional. I'm in surgery. I love it. I'm going to use that. I need to write that down. I'm in surgery right now. I'm in surgery right now.
it's not my office. It's my dad's office,
Uh-huh.
so I can't give anything out.
Right.
So, I don't have access to it. I don't know where anything is.
Okay.
So you don't have access to anything.
I love how we can hear him shaping out his answer and instruction as he's very, like, you can really hear the cogs moving in his head.
So
I don't know where anything is either.
Yeah, so I would do this. I would not speak to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever you want, but it's my dad's office.
Yeah.
So I don't have access
Yeah.
to any of that stuff.
Okay.
So they can talk to my dad, and I'm sure they'll be able to get whatever they want from them.
Okay. Understandable.
So if I had it, listen, you can talk to whoever you want. I shouldn't say don't talk to anybody.
No, I'm gonna do whatever you tell me.
Yeah, I'm not. I shouldn't say don't talk to anyone. Talk to whoever on the planet you want to talk to. But it's not my office, and it's not your office.
Right.
So you don't have records to give them, and I don't have records to give them. So I'm sure they'll be able to help them out in any way they can.
Okay. So that's what I'll tell them.
Tell them that it's not. It's not my office. The office was sold back to my dad, actually, a long time ago. So tell them that you will. So it's actually you're talking to the wrong Dr. Adelson.
Right.
So what you need to do is tell them that you will get in contact. Tell them. It's not your office. You can't give out records.
They said within 20 days of Florida statutes, provide above cause with reason.
Are they there now, or do they just stand?
They're there, but I'm in the back. I'm in the back. They're just waiting for me to come back.
Oh, and they want records?
Yeah.
Do me a favor. I'm going to call you from a landline on your cell phone, okay?
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Do me a favor. I'm going to call you back
I
from
heard
a
you say at the
landline.
beginning of the call, you're referencing.
I'm in surgery, but I'm just going to rush out of the operating theater in my dental scrubs, still wearing a face mask, and run down the street to find a payphone. I'm in surgery right now, but just do me a favor. I'm going to call you back from a landline, okay?
Katie. When you said Katie, were you talking about Katherine Magbanua?
Yes.
And how did you know Katherine Magbanua?
She was a patient at the office and his girlfriend.
Okay. A patient at Adelson Institute and Charlie Adelson's girlfriend?
Yes.
Had you ever seen Katherine Magbanua work at Adelson Institute?
No.
Did Adelson Institute have a cleaning service that came?
Yes.
And was it a husband and wife team that cleaned the office?
Yes.
And was Katherine Magbanua part of that husband and wife team?
No.
Were you on yearly salary or paid by the hour at Adelson Institute?
Hourly.
And would you get paid every 2 weeks?
Yes.
At that time, were your checks around $589 every 2 weeks for about 28 hours a week?
Yes.
Would you ever get paid for weeks of work in advance?
Yes.
Hang on. Whoa. What was that?
Salary or paid by the hour at Adelson Institute?
Hourly.
And would you get paid every 2 weeks?
Yes.
At that time, were your checks around $589 every 2 weeks for about 28 hours a week?
Yes.
Would you ever get paid for a week?
Okay, so that's what, 56 hours total. And if we divide her net of 589 by 56 hours over 2 weeks, $10.51 an hour. $10.51 an hour. What the fuck?
Weeks of work in advance?
Yes.
And when would that occur? What was going on for that to occur?
They would go on vacation.
Okay.
They should have got Erica to do the hit on Professor Markel, and just so she could have a little extra cash.
And when that would happen, when they would go on vacation, would you sometimes get 2 checks at a time?
Yes.
Would you ever get 4, 5, 6 checks at a time?
Not that I can remember.
Were you aware of any Charlie Adelson's girlfriends being on the payroll at Adelson Institute?
No.
Was Donna Adelson the person that took care of payroll?
Yes.
Had you ever been aware of any employee in the history of Adelson Institute that worked exclusively by phone or remotely?
No.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Very, very briefly. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
At the time of that call, Charlie Adelson didn't own the office, correct?
Correct.
And the reason why you called him is because his parents, Harvey and Donna were out of town, right?
Yes.
And the reason why you went to the back of the office when they came is because there were patients in the office, right?
Correct.
And you were nervous about this all going on with patients in the office, right?
Absolutely.
And Charlie, when he called you back, that was his big concern, right? The patients
Yes.
being in the office, right? When he called you back, was there anything crazy that he told you?
Nothing.
Now, there's been talk about this answering machine. It was like an old-fashioned type of answering machine, right?
The other one's a voicemail, yes.
And on the answering machine, Harvey Adelson would give his name and cell phone number for an emergency, right?
Correct.
By the way, Charlie Adelson, he only worked at the Adelson Institute maybe 2 times a month, right?
Yes.
And when he would work there, he'd work mostly with you, right?
Yes.
You liked working with him, right?
Loved.
And you'd work late at night.
What is with these two, man? You liked working with him. Loved. And Charlie's sitting over there like totally like real happy to see her.
Yes.
And sometimes you'd go out to dinner late at night after, right?
Yes.
By the way, you say you loved working with Charlie Adelson. Did you continue to work with him after the allegations in this case?
Yes.
Did you ever worry about working with him?
No.
Sustained. You disregard the last answer to that question. Please move on.
You continued to work with him until he got arrested, correct?
Correct.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect examination.
So at one point, Adelson Institute was sold to Charlie Adelson and then sold back to Harvey Adelson, right?
I think so.
But Charlie Adelson still worked as a dentist there, right?
Yes.
At his family's dental practice.
Yes.
And he also worked as a traveling periodontist, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just a second. Do you remember previously saying that you didn't remember what happened when he called you back on the landline?
I don't remember.
Okay. That's all.
Will Ms. Johnson be recalled at any point, or is she released?
Oh, no, she can be released. Thank you.
She can be released, Your Honor.
Have a good day. Members of the jury, we're going to take our lunch break at this point. Once again, I'm going to remind you of the thing that I always do. Do not discuss the case with each other or anyone else. Do not watch any news coverage. Do not seek out any information concerning this matter. We are going to resume with the trial at 1:45. Please report back by 1:30.
Judge Everett does have quite a lot of nostril clearing noises, doesn't he? But I enjoy them. I really do. But if it were anyone else... What was minimum wage in Tamarack, Florida in... Well, I mean, she worked for them right up until whenever it was. Hey, we got a new member. Who is it? Newly Jen. Welcome to the membership, Newly Jen. Enjoy that Metrix icon. Where's the really super one? The rainbow one. Just while we're waiting. I think we need to bring the rainbow one down at the moment. I mean, in case anyone didn't know, we added those custom icons recently. But, like, I don't know, maybe I need to put some more thought into it because the color changes every month. And, you know, the best one, the rainbow one, where is it? Hang on. Members have to be a loyal member for 60 months before they get the rainbow one. So, I don't know, I think it might take a while. You know, we should bring that down, right? That's too much. Yeah, you can have this in 5 years. You could buy a brand new car today on finance. And by the time you've paid it off, you might have a Rainbow Metrix loyalty badge. Yeah, we should bring that down. We should definitely bring that down. We're working on all these little bits and pesos.
Witness can be seated. Please raise your right hand, ma'am. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? You may take your seat. Please speak loudly and clearly.
For our court reporter, please.
Sure. My name is Mary Hull. It's Maryhull.
Okay. And where do you currently work?
I currently work at the Attorney General's office.
And where did you work when you became involved in this case back in the summer of 2016?
I work for the Department of Financial Services in the Office of Fiscal Integrity.
And what did you do there?
I was a finance.
I worked, what was it? Everybody's favorite person to speak to at the office Christmas party. Where do you work? What do you do?
In this case back in the summer of 2016.
I work for the Department of Financial Services in the Office of Fiscal Integrity.
And what did you do
I worked for the Department of Financial Services at the Office of Fiscal Integrity. Tell me more.
there?
I was a financial investigator.
What were your duties as a financial investigator there?
We investigated all fraud, waste, and abuse of all state funds.
Can you tell me a little bit about your educational background to hold your position?
Sure. I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in finance from Florida State University. I'm also a certified fraud examiner in good standing with the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners.
Okay, and at DFS, were you a financial investigator of economic crime specifically?
Yes,
Do you have experience in analyzing financial data?
I do.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I have 20 years of financial analysis and auditing experience for both in a state level and for the United States Attorney's Office.
Okay, and what about white-collar criminal investigations?
Yes, I've had 10 years of investigating criminal white-collar crime investigations to include money laundering, mortgage fraud, contract fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement.
Do you have a specific area of expertise?
Yes, my specific area is financial and
Is it forensic accounting?
forensic accounting.
And what is forensic accounting?
It is a very detailed analysis of financial records and data to be used in a court of law.
So, what, a spreadsheet then? I mean, that's essentially all it is. I mean, she's going to take us through the evidence. It's really quite interesting, actually. I like numbers. I like understanding data. Yeah. But it's a very detailed analysis to be used in a court of... It's a spreadsheet. Columns and rows.
Have you ever testified in court about your analysis of financial records?
Yes.
Okay, and about how many times?
This would be my 20th time.
Okay, and those are all my questions I have as to her expertise in that field, Judge.
Defense wish to voir dire the witness.
No, Your Honor.
Is there any challenge to her ability to provide an opinion in forensic accounting?
No, Your Honor.
Members of the jury, the witness will be permitted to provide you with an opinion in the field of forensic accounting.
All right, so you became involved in this case back in 2016. How did you become involved in this case?
It was a criminal unit, and I did all the financial analysis for it. I was asked to do an agency assist case. It wasn't my normal contract fraud or state fund fraud, but I would have the skill set that was needed.
And what were you asked to do in regards to this case?
To review mostly the bank records, but I did review some other records.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about all the different things you reviewed. Did you review the bank accounts of Harvey Adelson, Donna Adelson, Wendy Adelson, and Charlie Adelson?
Yes.
Okay, and does that include not only bank accounts but investment accounts of theirs as well?
Yes.
Speaking specifically to Charlie Adelson, did you review his Regions bank account?
Yeah, specifically talking about Charlie Adelson. How many pages of bank records did you have to print out for a payment made to discreetsextoydelivery.com? About 500 pages.
Primary bank savings and checking account with Regions from the years 2013 to 2016?
Yes.
And did you also review States 104, what's been marked as States 104, which is the records from his Capital One and Amex cards from 2014 to 2016?
Yes.
And what's been marked and shown to you before court today as 104A, is that a printout of one of the pages of those records?
Yes.
All right, I want to ask you about a few other folks you reviewed records for. Did you review bank account
Fucking
records
A, bro. I'm gonna fucking fuck up whoever the fuck is
Yes.
fucking with me.
And was that
Oh, thanks, Newly Jan. I needed to hear me some Katie cursing. It's always good, isn't it? Thank you so much for the coffee, Newly Jan.
one Chase bank account?
Yes.
Okay, and that's been marked as and shown to defense in the witness as States 97. Were those through for the years 2014 and 2015?
Yes.
All right, for Sigfredo Garcia, did you review two different accounts in this case, savings and checking, that were from Bank of America?
Yes.
And were those for the years 2015 and 2016?
Yes, that's correct.
So that bank account was not established until the year after Dan Markel was killed?
Correct.
Did he have a bank account, Sigfredo Garcia? We're talking about the year that Dan Markel was killed?
An active account was not located for him.
Did you also review some employment records for these gentlemen from Coastal Masonry from the years 2009 to 2014?
Yes.
Okay, and that's States Exhibit 69. For Katherine Magbanua, looking at States 99 and 100, did you review bank records from Bank of America that would include her savings account and her checking account?
Yes.
And were those for the years 2013 to 2017?
Yes.
Okay, and did she also have another bank account as well?
Yes.
Was that with JP Morgan Chase?
It was.
Okay. That's been marked as States 101 and 102. Are those two different numbers because there's also a savings and a checking account for those?
That's correct.
And were those also from 2013 to 2017?
Yes.
Did you also review a credit card of hers, a Synchrony credit card?
Yes.
In addition to her bank records, did you review Katherine Magbanua's income tax filings for 2013 to 2015?
Yes.
Was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. And did you also receive several records of different businesses?
Yes.
I want to ask you specifically about States Exhibit 60. Did you review an Adelson Institute subpoena response from a subpoena that was sent to them regarding Katherine Magbanua's employment?
I did.
And did that subpoena response, was that from September 2014 to May 2016?
Yes.
Did you also review States Exhibit?
Fucking A, bro. I'm gonna fucking fuck up whoever the fuck is fucking with me.
Oh, golfer girl. A hole in one. Thanks so much for the 5 cups of coffee on buymeacoffee.com/True Crime Metrix. Thank you, golfer girl. That is mighty kind, mighty kind.
$70, which was records from Dr. Rudner's, he's a plastic surgeon's, his office.
Yes.
Was that for a breast augmentation for Katherine Magbanua?
It was.
Did you also review records from Jerome Obed's office, Broward Dermatology, regarding Katherine Magbanua employment from July 2015 to March 2016?
Yes.
Did you also review State's Exhibit 77, which were copies of checks from Adelson Institute to Katherine Magbanua.
I did.
Did you also review several DHS&V records as well?
Yes.
All right, let's go through those. Did you review State 68, which was a Lexus titled to Katherine Magbanua?
Yes.
And what about what's been marked as 72, 73, 74, and 75 DHS&V records for multiple different vehicles for Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera?
Yes.
All right, and did all of those records from all of those various companies, they came with certifications that certified they were legitimate records from those businesses. Is that what those are?
Yes, they did.
All right, at this time, I would enter all of those records into evidence. So for, will do. That's going to be State's Exhibit 68 through 77.
Any objection from the defense?
No objection, Your Honor.
States 68 through 77 are admitted at this time.
Okay. Those are documents, and for discs, we have States 97 through 104, and then the printout will be 104A from the Amex records.
Any objection as to those records?
No objection, Your Honor.
They are admitted at this time.
Nice to have a bit of Sarah Dugan.
All of those records, especially the bank records, are those pretty voluminous.
Yes.
Hundreds or even thousands of pages at times.
Oh, yes.
In order to illustrate
Thousands
to the
of
jury
pages.
your findings
Thousands of pages. Well, yeah, I guess if you're looking at bank records over years, man.
in this case, are you going to rely on a summary of the bank records and all of the different records that you just told us about?
Yes.
In addition to looking at those records, did you also look at the certain messages from the iCloud of Charlie Adelson in your preparation or your work for this case?
I did.
Okay. And
Whoa, thanks so much, Pinto, for being the first contributor to our goal at the top of the chat, our fantastic Metrix website fund goal. Thank you, Pinto.
some of those messages incorporated into the summary?
Yes.
And is your summary an accurate reflection of those records that you just told us about?
It is.
At this time, I would move State's Exhibit 76 into evidence, which is the summary of the financial records.
Any objection to State 76?
She does look a bit like Lorraine Bracco.
No objection.
Those will be admitted at this time.
All right, in State 76, I just want to be clear. We have a paper copy, right? That's
Yeah.
going to be in evidence,
I did.
but we'll look at it today and on a PowerPoint view for the jury.
Okay.
Okay. Permission to publish via PowerPoint, Judge?
You may.
All right, so I'm going to ask you about the different records that you looked at, and you'll tell us what we have here on the screen. And all of the records that you told us about, though, are in evidence. If the jury wants to see any more, that they'll be back in the deliberation room with them.
Okay.
So looking at here at the first slide of your summary, what, if any, vehicles did Luis Rivera acquire after the murder of Dan Markel on July 18th, 2014, per his DHS-MV records?
He purchased on July 28, 2014, a 2003 Suzuki motorcycle.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
And
Pause.
Purchased on July 28, 2014, a 2003 Suzuki motorcycle.
okay. And
It's not that far off, is it? Like, if they were introduced to you as sisters, I think they have the exact same glasses. If these two walked into a restaurant and you were meeting them for the first time, or you knew one of them, they said, "Oh, this is my sister," totally believable, right? Good catch. Who was that? Golfer girl. Good catch. Good catch. They got a similar suit on as well. What the fuck? Even the cut of the top under the suit is... It's like she's dressed up as Lorraine Bracco specifically. Good job, golfer girl.
were there any others?
Yes, he also purchased on July 31st, 2014, a 1996 Toyota Camry.
And thanks so much. Ride-in shotgun.
Okay. And in reviewing the records, was there a picture of the yellow motorcycle among his social media information?
It was.
Okay. And I don't think we were able to find an image of the green Toyota, but is that kind of a silhouette of what a green Toyota of that make and year looks like?
Yes, it was a sedan.
All right. All right. So when you analyzed Luis Rivera bank accounts, what did you learn about his banking patterns or banking habits?
Luis Rivera had a very unique banking pattern. All his payroll checks were direct deposited, but as soon as they hit his account, he'd pull them all out in cash, virtually all of it. But he had auto payments set up, so every time an auto payment would come through, it would bounce, and he would end up with a bank overdraft charge. So we had a lot of overdraft charges.
What the fuck, Lewis? Get your shit together, man. You're getting paid by a company. They're paying you direct deposit. Every time they pay you direct deposit, you take the whole lot out in cash, and your payments fail. What the fuck? And then you get charged by the bank?
And where were his paychecks coming from?
Coastal Masonry.
Okay, so he had a steady job at Coastal Masonry throughout the records that you looked at.
He did.
And when his paychecks, you said they were direct deposited into his account?
Yes,
Were those for about $500 to $600 a week?
it was.
Okay. And he would pretty much immediately withdraw the money, you say?
Yes, he operated mostly in cash.
And then would he begin to overdraft after that until his next paycheck?
Yes.
All right. Did his banking pattern change after the murder of Dan Markel?
It did.
All right. How did it change?
He no longer pulled out large amounts of cash, and leaving his paychecks in there, the auto payments no longer caused an overdraft payment.
Was the last large cash withdrawal before the murder of Dan Markel just a couple of days before his murder?
Yes.
When did his normal banking patterns resume again after the murder of Dan Markel?
About 4 months later.
4 months. So he was flush for 4 months. You took out Professor Markel and caused a lifetime of misery. And it gave you 4 months of being flush. Terrible, isn't it? That'd be one of the worst. If I were Phil Markel, that'd be one of the worst things for me to hear. It was like, okay, you went and bought a load of shit. Actually, I think Lewis was a little bit... I think he gave quite a bit of cash to his mother and Jessica and so on. I mean, it wasn't just buying shit, flash shit, like Sigfredo with his big TV. Hey, I'm going to get a really big TV. 4 months of being flush.
All right, what do we see here?
This is a graph that shows his banking pattern of the overdrafts. So, and it's split into three-month segments. So, all the red bars will show where he had an overdraft charge, and then you see that long pattern between the two yellow bars, and then a little after that shows there was no overdraft charges. But by November 11th of 2014, his pattern picked back up.
So in the 3 months before the murder, from April to July, he had a pretty low balance in his bank account, about $65.30, and about 21 different overdraft penalties.
Yes.
Looking from the first yellow line from the date of the murder to 3 months after the murder, so mid to end July of October, did he have any overdrafts during that time?
No.
And for him, did he have a relatively high balance in his bank account of $249.94?
For him it was, yes.
Right. In the 3 to 6 months after the murder, did he then start
Thank you, Pie Bird.
to pick up on the overdrafts again?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And this time the average balance is a little less than it was in the 3 months preceding it.
A little bit, yes.
Now, during the time when he's not withdrawing money from his bank account or having overdraft fees, could that be indicative of him having another source of cash that's separate from coastal masonry, which would be the money coming in from his job?
Yes, that indicated to me that he had additional source of cash and he was not having to rely on removing cash from the bank to operate. He liked to operate in cash.
All right. You said that you looked at the DHS-MV records of Sigfredo Garcia. What, if any, vehicles did Sigfredo Garcia acquire after the murder of Dan Markel?
On July 26, 2014, he purchased a 1997 Honda Racer, black and yellow. He also purchased on August 22, 2014, a 1984 Chevy Monte Carlo in blue. In October of 2014, he also purchased a 2000 Nissan Maxima gold sedan.
And you mentioned that
Gold sedan? It's called champagne, lady.
you analyzed Sigfredo Garcia's bank accounts. What kind of bank records did he have?
He had a checking and a savings account.
And were those for the time period of June 2015 to July of 2016?
It was.
And you said before you didn't have any bank records to review of his from the time of the murder because you didn't have any active accounts at that time?
None that we could find.
Okay, were subpoenas sent to banks that
Yes.
came back indicating closed accounts with no records?
They just came back with no response.
Okay. All right, you mentioned you received coastal masonry records. Did you also have coastal masonry records for not only Luis Rivera, who had steady paychecks from there, but also for Sigfredo Garcia?
Yes, there was some records from there, but he worked very sporadically.
Okay, so just a couple of months here, 1 year, a couple of months there, and another year? No
Yes.
steady paychecks?
No steady paychecks.
At some point during his bank records, or at some point during the years 2013 to 2016, did he begin receiving steady paychecks?
Yes, he did.
Was that in September of 2015?
That sounds right, yes.
And did that last up until he was arrested in May of 2016?
It was.
Where were those paychecks from?
I'd have to refer to my notes.
Okay.
That'd be okay. He was employed at...
Who can remember the name of Sigfredo's company? It was... He was employed at... what the hell was it called? Who wants to flex their Adelson case knowledge in the chat? Sigfredo's company. What was it called? Where he was employed at the finance company. No, not Coastal. The finance company. Coastal was the masonry company. I know it. I just... You know when your mind goes blank? What the hell was it? I keep coming back to Up to the Max, which was Katie. Oh, God. Well, it was both of them. Bob, Sigfredo worked for Coastal Masonry as well. Lewis had to fire him for drinking on the job. Sigfredo's finance company. It was... I guess we're going to find out.
Rapid capital funding.
Rapid capital funding. That's what it was.
Rapid capital funding.
Yes.
All right, moving on to Katherine Magbanua. Did she already own a car at the time of Dan Markel's murder?
She did.
When you looked at the iCloud for Charlie Adelson, did you find messages that indicated that Charlie Adelson provided her with some financial assistance for that vehicle?
Yes.
And in the way of repairs?
Yes.
Okay, looking at this first set of text messages, what date are these from?
This one is November 18th, 2014.
Okay, and I won't ask you to read all of it, and the jury will have these in evidence, but on this page, does it say that she needs a loan? She calls him Buddy. She says, I need a loan, Buddy, because the parts alone are going to be expensive. Imagine what it would be if she took it to another mechanic, and he said he texted Sully his CC.
That's correct.
And he said, you'll be fine, I got you.
Right.
Are his messages Charlie Adelson's messages in the blue and Katherine Magbanua's in the green here?
It is.
Okay. And then she says, stop paying for shit with a Y on your card?
Yes.
Looking at the next set, this is on May 30th of 2015.
Yes.
He says she needs to get her timing belt changed. He says, bring it to...
By the way, get your timing belt changed. If this thing goes, the whole car is fucked. Just bring it to Mazda and I will take care of it for you. No, I left. I'm so tired. Your car? You need take it ASAP. What the fuck? Listen. When I send text messages, I write in full English words. I never put you, the letter U and the letter R for your. Never. Not even once. I wouldn't even put BTW for by the way. I would do ASAP.
Mazda, and he'll take care of it for her in this message?
Yes, he does.
And in this message, is it him offering to take care of the repairs for her?
Yes.
Looking at this one on November 18th of 2014. Whoop, sorry, I went back up instead of down. Okay. Looking at the next exchange on November 9th of 2015, she's asking her for a credit card authorization.
Mute button. Sorry, I'm eating olives and trying to be respectful. Hey, I need to have your credit card for authentication firm sent to you. I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? Hey, I need to have your credit card authenticated firm sent to you. Are you at the office now so they can send it? I'm going in the morning to pick up the car. Call me. Hey, Sorry. Hey, it's going to be too much of a mission. I'm just going to try. I'm in a put it on my credit card tomorrow morning because I doubt that you're nowhere near an office right now. And then help me pay for my card, please. Call me ASAP. I will only pay for it if you let me put it on my credit card. I am at an office. Send it now. Call me ASAP. If you pay for it on your credit card, you're on your own. Sorry. What is the AMT? What is the deal with that? Don't put anything yet. Just put on the authorization that I'll put them out when I get there tomorrow. Fuck, they are closed. Just put 16:30. Okay, how about I put 16:50? These guys.
Authorization. I'm sorry, she's asking him for credit card authorization. He says he'll pay it if he can put it on his credit card. What's the amount? She's telling him just put 1630. He offers to put 1650 there at the bottom. And then looking at the next page, she says it came out to 1620 and says, thanks again, I'll pay you back.
That's correct.
And then when you compared the timing of these messages on November 10th, 2015, where they seemed to be talking about him paying for something for her, what did you find when you looked at his Amex credit card?
I found the payment to Mazda of North Miami for $1,620.77.
Okay. And in the previous text messages we saw from several months or sometime before, he had been saying, take your car to Mazda. And this is also Mazda?
That's correct.
All right, so did it appear from the iCloud and from other records that at some point in late 2015, Katherine Magbanua got a different car?
Yes.
Okay, looking here at the message from December 14th of 2015, does Charlie Adelson say that he's going to cancel the Lexus insurance today? His mom is paying it now, but please go this SAT?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And Katherine Magbanua is then later saying, I'll take care of it, don't worry. And he says, I already paid it 5 minutes ago, just chill, you're still the best.
That's correct.
All right, did you then look at the DHSMV records to see if there was a a Lexus titled to Katherine Magbanua from around this time?
I did.
All right, and what is this?
That's the certificate title for Katherine Magbanua.
All right, and does this, I'm going to try to zoom.
Harvey Jerome Adelson. So, can't quite see the details of this. It's funny it says Tallahassee, Florida. I guess that's where the Department of Transport is or whatever. So the registered address of the previous owner, Harvey Adelson, is, I can't work out the numbers, but it's North University, Tamarack. So I guess that's the dental office. He's registered it to the dental office, the fucking crook. That crook. And there's Harvey's signature. Interesting. On the left, the one at the bottom, the signature at the bottom on the left-hand side is Harvey Adelson.
All right. The jury will have this in evidence, and if you need me to bring the actual title up there for you to see it closer, you can let me know.
I think I'd see well enough.
Did she acquire the vehicle in January of 2016 per this title?
Yes.
Okay, and what type of vehicle was it?
It was a 2001 Lexus four-door sedan in black.
Who was the previous owner of the vehicle?
Harvey Adelson.
And how much did the DHSMV title indicate that it was sold to Katherine Magbanua for?
$1,700.
Is that there about halfway down the page?
Yes, on the right side.
Were you able to find any record of payment from Katherine Magbanua for this vehicle?
No, I did not.
Okay, so no check made out from Magbanua to an Adelson for that amount?
No.
Was there any matching, like cash withdrawal, like a withdrawal for $1,700 from her account?
No.
Were you able to find any $1,700 deposit into any Adelson accounts for that amount?
I did not.
Was there a drop in the money that she was receiving from the Adelson Institute at that time to account for this car if it had been taken out of her salary?
No.
Can you insure a vehicle without actually transferring the title?
I don't believe so.
Okay, and we saw that they were talking about the insurance in the prior text message, right?
That's right.
Do you have to put a sale price or list it as a gift when you transfer title?
You have to either list a price or list it as a gift.
Okay. If you say that it's a sale on the transfer title and not a gift, are you taxed?
Yes.
Is there a financial benefit of listing like a really low sales price on the title transfer for a vehicle?
Yes, it lowers the amount for the registration of the car.
Who decides what number goes on a title transfer?
It's supposed to be the seller, but most often the seller just leaves it blank.
So just whoever's submitting it to the tax office then would fill it in?
That's correct.
If I sold you a car for $3,000, but we agreed to put $300 on the title transfer, would we pay less taxes on it?
Yes.
Looking at the iCloud messages between Katherine Magbanua and Charlie Adelson, did it appear that Charlie Adelson provided other financial assistance or gifts or favors for Katherine Magbanua?
Yes.
One second. Okay, what do we see here?
Okay, this is on March 6, 2015. It's from Charlie's Delta Sky Miles account, showing a purchase of a ticket to Santo Domingo for Katherine Magbanua.
Okay, and do you see Katherine Magbanua's name there under passenger name?
Yes.
Santo Domingo, is that in Dominican Republic?
It is.
And what was the price of these tickets with Spirit Airlines to Santo Domingo?
$970.74.
All right, looking at messages from the iCloud on October 19th of 2015, does Katherine Magbanua say to him, hey, don't you have a hookup with plane tickets? I want to leave for Thanksgiving and take my mom. It's her 60th on November 9th. And then there at the bottom, Charlie Adelson asked, where do you want to take your mom?
Yes.
Okay, looking at this conversation that continues on the next page, She says, I want to do something for my mom. Let me see if she has days off on Thanksgiving. She thinks about renting an RV. And then about
Renting an RV with your mom. We're going to see the country. The fuck? Where were they going to go? Oh.
halfway down the page, Charlie Adelson volunteers to get a cruise for her and her mom.
That's correct.
And then he says, perfect. They have really nice ones that you guys can leave on a Friday, go to 2 ports, and come back on Monday morning. You won't miss any work.
That's right.
All right, and this was October of 2015?
Yes.
Looking at the continued conversation, he says, okay, so I think it would be super cool for you to go with just you and your mom from Friday to Monday on a Norwegian cruise. It leaves Friday at 4 and gets back Monday at 7. Does that work? And then they talk about where and looking at dates.
That's right.
Okay. So in that exchange, she mentions wanting to do something nice for her mom. She has the idea of maybe renting an RV, and he offers to pay for them to go on a cruise.
Yes.
On May 20th of 2015, in this exchange, does Katherine Magbanua say that she has a shitload of things to pay for and needs a little help because of the kids' tuition? I hate asking. And he says, I will lend you whatever you need.
Yes, that's correct.
Shortly after this text message exchange, in the few days following, did you look at Katherine Magbanua's account to see if there was any large cash deposit into her account?
Yes, I did. She received $1,400 that she put into her Chase 7242 account.
Okay. So what we have there at the bottom is literally like a still shot of her record showing the cash deposit into her account on May 26th.
That's a snippet of her bank account.
Okay, thank you. So a snippet of that $1,400 deposit.
Yes.
And in this message, she says she hates asking for the money, and he says he'll lend it to her, whatever she needs.
That's right.
1 second. All right, you mentioned that you looked at Dr. Rudner's plastic surgeon's office records. Did Katherine Magbanua have a breast augmentation surgery in October of 2014?
Yes, she did.
Okay, what do we see here?
That is a snippet of the payment record for Dr. Rudner.
All right, and before tax, what was the cost of the breast augmentation?
It was $4,595.
All right, how was this?
4,995. 4,995 new tits.
Paid? Like how much was it? Cash, card, check?
There was $4,400 paid in cash and $195 paid through her debit card.
All right. Was that $4,400 paid in cash? Was that 2 separate payments? One of a $4,000 in cash payment and the other one a $400 in cash payment?
Yes, that's correct.
What percentage of her breast augmentation was paid in cash?
96%.
Were there any corresponding withdrawals from any of Katherine Magbanua's accounts that would reach $4,400 or even $4,000
No.
during that time? Did you add up all her cash withdrawals from that whole year, like January 2014 all the way to October 2014?
I did.
Okay, and did they total only about a little over $2,000 during that time?
That's correct.
Okay, so not enough to pay for the $4,400 in cash.
Not pulling it from a bank account.
All right, now I want to focus on Katherine Magbanua's bank records.
Okay.
Based on the records that you reviewed, were you able to ascertain where she may have worked or what businesses she received income from those bank records?
Yes.
Okay, what do we see here?
What you see is a summary of how much money she got, and I could show for each year from where she was employed.
Okay, can you tell us which businesses she received income from and when,
Sure. You want me to list all the dates?
if you would?
Okay. Millennium Therapy Services from January 7th, 2013 to July 5th, 2013. Encore Nationwide, January 18th, 2013 to December 31st, 2013. CEO Next, LLC, April 1st, 2013 to April 30th, 2013. Sophie Dental Care, May 8th, 2013, July 31st, 2014. The Adelson Institute, October 7th, 2014 to May 17th, 2016. Dr. Obed, July 29th, 2015 and to March 23rd, 2016. Dr. Lopez, July 29th, 2016, October 14th, 2016.
Okay, did you review employment well, let me ask you, could Quintana Lopez, could she have been a realtor at that time?
She may have been.
Okay. Did you look at the actual employment records, though, from Jerome, for many of these, including Jerome Obed?
Jerome's at, yes.
Okay, was Jerome Obed a dermatologist's office?
Yes.
Okay, and was there a relationship between Charlie Adelson and Jerome Obed?
Yes, I believe they were good friends.
Okay. Were there messages in the iCloud indicating that Obed was Charlie Adelson's roommate at the time?
There was.
Okay. I want to ask you about some of this income. What do we have here?
This is a chart that shows the money that was deposited into her account by her employer in the blocks vertically, and then, horizontally. And then the months on the bottom from January 23rd to December 16th.
Looking at the dates, the date that we see here from the time that the employment begins, was that the date that the check was written or the date that the check was posted to her account?
It was the date it hit her account.
Okay, so this reflects income from her account from those businesses from the date of the first check, the day it was posted, to the date of the last post.
That's correct.
All right. Now, looking at this graph and the date of the murder in this graph, which is reflected by the first red line, July 18th, 2014, was she employed at the time of the murder or the 5-6 weeks afterwards?
No.
We see that she received income from the Adelson Institute from October 8th of 2014 through a check dated May 17th, 2016. Was there evidence from Charlie Adelson's iCloud that referenced how or why she began receiving income from the Adelson Institute?
There was.
All right. Looking at this message, is this message from June 24th of 2014?
It is.
So this would have been from...
So Mary says that it seems cheap. I assume that's referring to the $4,995 for the new tits. So here's my theory on the payment for the new tits. We know from June that she says that Charlie said he paid for one of them. That it was said on a Dateline special or whatever, or the news, that it was suspected that Charlie Adelson paid for Katherine Magbanua's new tits. And then while he was watching that with June, he said, "No, I only paid for one of them." Now, that seems accurate, because on the day of the surgery, there's a record of a communication record. I don't remember if it was a text. Yeah, it was a text, wasn't it? Of Katie saying, "Oh, can I put this on your credit card?" So there's a payment made, but Charlie only paying for one of them doesn't mean that Katherine Magbanua paid for the other one. It seems to me that Charlie did a deal with a colleague, someone that he knows. He's a dentist. He has a colleague who's a plastic surgeon, and said, "Listen, do me the deal for Katie's tits, half price, and I'll give you a lead on a corrupt stock market trade. That's a sure thing. You put $1,000 in this stock in 30 days you're going to be in six-figure territory." Some corrupt stock like that. That's what he meant by, "I only paid for one of them." Not that Katie paid for the other one. She paid for shit. She got the tits for free. But Charlie only paid for half because he gave a corrupt stock trade to his plastic surgeon buddy. And they probably celebrated by going go-karting together later. That's what I think. Makes sense to me.
3 or 4 weeks before the murder of Dan Markel?
That's correct.
Okay. And in this message, she says, "I'm going to need help on the employment info. I have to send to DCF for my kids' insurance. INS. Also, I have to end up moving late. Also, if I have to end up moving later on, I need to show I'm working for you, or else I won't be able to get an apartment." And he says, "No prob."
That's correct.
And then about 2 months after the murder of Dan Markel, she begins receiving checks from the Adelson Institute.
She does.
In order to rent an apartment, do people sometimes have to show proof of employment so that the apartment complex will rent to them and know that they will reliably pay their rent?
That's correct.
In order to get public assistance health insurance, do people need to show that they are employed but don't make above a certain amount of money?
That's right.
Did you review checks from Adelson Institute that were deposited into Katherine Magbanua's account?
I did.
And in what accounts did you find those checks?
They mostly went into her checking accounts, but occasionally she'd put some in her savings.
Okay. And they were coming out of Adelson Institute's Regions account?
That's right.
How many checks total were there from the Adelson Institute to Katherine Magbanua?
There was 44 checks.
And what do we see here?
This is a list of the checks that were paid to her, and it shows the date they were posted to her account, the date that was written on the check number, the payment, and the memo field.
So looking at what's been entered into evidence as State 77, a copy of each check back in front is State 77?
Yes.
All 44 checks?
Yes.
Okay. But just for ease of presenting and explaining these checks to the jury, you're relying on this summary here, this kind of Excel table summarizing the checks.
Yes.
All right. Were all of the checks deposited by Katherine Magbanua?
They were.
Who were all the checks signed by?
Donna Adelson.
When was the first check issued from Adelson Institute to Katherine Magbanua?
The date on the checks was September 17th, 2014.
Okay, so that was just short of 1 day. I'm sorry, that was about 2 months from the murder of Dan Markel.
That's correct.
And how often did Katherine Magbanua receive checks from Adelson Institute after that?
She received 2 checks a month.
Until May of 2016?
That's correct.
All right, if you could walk us through, here are just an example of 3 different checks. There's a pointer there in front of you. You might have to make sure it's on up on the ledge. There you go.
Okay.
What can you tell us about, well, first of all, I asked you who signed all the checks, and you said Donna Adelson. Can you show us the signature on these checks?
Right here.
Okay,
This
so
is
Donna
a
Sue Adelson.
Yeah, that's the signature line on all of them.
And what can you tell us about the memo lines of these checks?
The memo line reflects the date she would have worked on each of these checks.
Okay, so they reflect kind of like the pay period for that amount?
Yes.
Okay. I want to go back to our summary, or let me ask you first, the memo lines, the date ranges, were these usually about every 8 to 10 days,
Yes.
the range? Go back to our summary. What amount were all of the checks for?
All except for the first one were $407.58.
So all of them except the first one were for the exact same amount?
Correct.
And is that what the column furthest to the right indicates for each one?
Yes.
Were some of these checks advance pay?
They were.
What does that mean?
That she was actually paid before the end of the time frame of the payment.
So she would get the paycheck before the work period was complete,
Yes,
or post it before the work period was complete.
that's correct.
And on the right, does that indicate which ones were advance pay?
That's right.
Were some of these checks sequential?
They were.
And what does that mean?
That they were paid by the same set of checks in a book. So they're 1, 2, and 3 sequential.
Okay. Now, were the ones that were sequential, were they at or around the same date?
No, they reflected different dates.
All right, so when you say they're sequential, the number here at the top of the check,
That's right.
that would mean that the next check she received, even though it's supposed to be for 2 weeks later in a different pay period, would be the next number in sequence.
That's right.
How many sequential checks did Katherine Magbanua receive in a row?
She had 18.
All right, looking at this column furthest to the right, our checks, it appears to be 11, 12, and 13. Were they all sequential?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be 3 in a row.
Yes.
And then looking at checks, or I'm sorry, the number 28 through 33, those checks, that was 6 sequential checks in a row.
Yes.
And then looking at 36 through, I think it's 3 up, so 36 through 41, was that another 6 sequential checks in a row?
It was.
And then the final 3, I believe that is, were those sequential checks all in a row?
They were.
You mentioned earlier that at the time of, or we saw that she received a breast augmentation in October of 2014. We saw, was Katherine Magbanua receiving checks at that time from the Adelson Institute?
She was.
Was there any disruption in her paychecks from October of 2014 when she received a breast augmentation, like time where she would have been out of work or recuperating or anything like that?
No,
Was the amount the same as it was on the other checks except for the first one?
it was.
What about the time for the trip to Santo Domingo that departed on March 22nd of 2014? Did she have any less of a paycheck around that time that might reflect time that she was off or didn't work when she was in another country that week?
No,
So no decrease of any money she received?
none.
What other records did you review with respect to her employment at Adelson Institute?
The only thing I received from the subpoena was a QuickBooks summary.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do we see here?
That is a printout from the QuickBook report for the Adelson Institute.
So this is what y'all received from the Adelson Institute.
A printout for what? Well, it must be just some finance system.
When y'all subpoenaed her employment, or when her employment records were subpoenaed.
That's correct.
What is a QuickBook printout?
It's an accounting software program a lot of businesses use for payroll and keeping track of expenses.
What time period did the printout cover?
This printout covers September 18th, 2014 to March 31st, 2016.
What date range did the law enforcement subpoena
Thank you,
request?
Sandra.
The request was for any and all records for her employment.
Okay. Were all of the checks that Katherine Magbanua received reflected on this QuickBooks?
No.
Do you think it would be impossible for this witness to make her testimony just a little bit more exciting, dynamic, something? I mean, fucking hell, this is quite long to get through, isn't it? How much longer do we have? Do we have a cross-examination? Is there going to be some fire? I mean, it's nice to see all of the financial charts, though.
You said the last check on the QuickBooks was from March 31st of 2016?
That's correct.
Okay, when looking at her account, how many additional checks were there after that time that she was paid by Adelson Institute?
She received 3 additional checks.
And when was the last check that she posted according to her bank account?
I believe it was May 17th, 2016.
Okay, but in May of 2016?
Yes.
So if Garcia was arrested on May 25th of 2016, and the last check to Katherine Magbanua per the actual checks was written on May 12th of 2016, they stopped making payments.
Oh, hey, thank you so much, Victoria Girl, for your big pink super chat. Thanks so much. Thank you kindly.
Her after his arrest on May 25th?
It's possible same time frame.
What was the total net amount received by Katherine Magbanua from Adelson Institute from September of 2014 to May of 2016?
It was $17,729, I believe.
$17,729?
I believe so. Look it up.
And did Adelson Institute provide any type of employment application, timesheet, W-2, tax filing, performance valuation, job description, anything like that for Katherine Magbanua?
No, they did not.
Just the QuickBooks?
Just the QuickBooks.
I want to ask you about the timing of Katherine Magbanua's final Adelson Institute checks. Are you familiar with what we call the bump in this case?
I am.
And that was on April 19th of 2016. Looking at the final 3 checks to Katherine Magbanua that were sequential and not in QuickBooks, was there evidence of a check that was later in sequence that was actually posted in a party's bank account before the bump on April 19th of 2016?
Yes, it's the second bar. Harvey deposited a check of $20.83 on April 11th, 2016.
Okay, and that check was posted to his account, but it was after Katherine Magbanua's last 3 sequential checks in sequence.
That's right.
And that would have been before the bump.
Correct.
All right, did you look at Katherine Magbanua's bank account to determine what her income source is for the year before the murder, the year of the murder, and the 2 years following the murder, what those were?
Yes.
Okay, I want you to walk us through each one of those.
Okay.
Looking at 2013, how much cash did she deposit that year into her accounts?
$13,035.
What percentage of her total income that year then was cash?
23%.
Was cash deposits her highest source of income into her account that year?
Yes.
Looking at 2014, how much cash did she deposit into her account that year?
$46,820.
What percentage of her total income was that cash that year into her account?
64%.
And was cash deposits her highest source of income that year?
Yes.
What does the yellow reflect here? We talked about the red, the cash deposits. What does the yellow reflect?
It's for the checks that she received that year for the Adelson Institute.
And the checks that we saw didn't begin being posted to her account from Adelson Institute until October of 20.
I'm just trying to find some interesting things to throw in here. I'm looking at Katie Magbanua's appeal document, which, you know how many pages that is, folks? It's 5,297 pages long. I kind of want to purchase a printer just so I can print that out. I would love to have that as a physical thing. But check out this email sent on January 14th, 2022. So about 3-4 months before Katie's second trial. It's from Christopher DeCoste to Jessica Rodriguez. I'll put it on the screen. Hang on. Oh, hang on. Whoa. It's just not clear who's sending the first. So Jessica sent that at 2:17. So Chris is first. Miss Rodriguez, Tara and I understand your concerns and reluctance. We really do. But unfortunately, the law does not give you a choice in the matter. You are a material witness and have been properly served with a subpoena. With that, the options are comply with the subpoena or we go before the court to force your appearance at trial. We also understand you gave a deposition. Unfortunately, we do not get to enter depositions as evidence at trial. Instead, we must call witnesses to the stand and ask them questions before the jury. Your testimony will include matters discussed during the deposition. And then about half an hour later, Jessica responds, well, I know I cannot be forced. And I also know my rights. In the beginning, Tara took advantage of in my kindness. When I knew nothing, I appreciate your timely response, and I'll make sure to also speak to the prosecution as well of this matter and my decision to not want nothing to do with this. Have a great day. Yeah. But I don't have the email that preceded it. But it's strange because she was a state's witness. Wasn't she? Yeah, I'm sure she was a state's witness for sure, because I remember Tara was doing the cross.
2014 that year?
That's correct.
So this would just be about 2 months worth of checks?
Yes.
So when combined with the Adelson Institute income, cash and Adelson Institute money was about 68% of her total income that year into her account?
Yes, that's correct.
Oops. All right, looking at 2015, how much cash was deposited into her account that year?
$26,523.77.
And what percentage of her total income was cash deposits?
51%.
Was cash deposits her highest source of income that year?
Yes.
And the yellow, does that again represent Adelson Institute in this graph?
It does.
Okay. And what does the purple represent?
That was paychecks received from Dr. Obed.
Okay. And that was Charlie Adelson's friend and roommate.
Correct.
So looking at her cash and Adelson sources, when combined all of that together, it's about 81% of her income is cash, Adelson Institute, and Jerome Obed paychecks.
Correct.
Finally, looking 2 years after the murder in 2016, does she
Never
deposit
leave.
significantly less cash than the last 2 years that year?
Yes.
How much cash does she deposit that year?
$11,921.33.
And that was about 20% of her total income?
That's correct.
We saw where the last check deposit.
Yeah, how dry can a witness be? Can you imagine her after a few cognacs, though? She probably gets wild. Starts, what would she do? I don't know. We see a totally different side of Mary Hull.
Deposited into her, that posted to her account from the Adelson Institute was in May of that year. So in those 5 months, the $4,890 amount, that was the amount that she received from Adelson Institute just for 2016.
Yes.
And then from Jerome Obed, this reflects the amount deposited into her account from him as well, or
Yes.
from his business?
That's correct.
All right. What do we see here?
This is a different way of reflecting the cash deposits into her account by year. It's a bar chart.
Okay. So at the bottom, we see the amount of the percentage of cash deposited into her account compared to the total amount of income she received.
Correct.
All right. And at the top is the actual number as far as cash deposits into her account in a bar graph that reflects that.
Right.
Which year had the most cash deposits? Looking at 2013 in the first column to 2016 in the last column.
Nice, Julia. She would talk alcohol percentages.
2014.
And 2014 was the year of Dan Markel's murder.
It was.
In 2014, did she have about 3 times as much cash deposited into her account as the year before?
Yes.
and about twice as much as the year after in 2015?
Yes.
And looking at the graphs below, in 2014 and 2015, the percentage of her total amount of income into her account that was cash was 64 and 51%, compared to the years before and 2 years after the murder being only 23 and 20%.
That's correct.
All right, what do we see here?
This is a chart. The bar chart above shows the amounts for the cash deposits, the Adelson Institute, and Dr. Obed. And the bottom reflects the percentage of those combined.
So looking at cash and income from Adelson-related sources, Adelson Institute and Jerome Obed, that was 67 and 81% of her total income in 2014 and 2015, the year after the murder, compared to 2013 and 2016 at 23 and 35%.
That's correct.
You said that 2014 was the year that Katherine Magbanua had the most amount of cash deposited into her account. What does this graph represent?
So this graph shows cash deposits by month, and each month has a point on the scale on the left, and it's connected by a line so you can see the flow. So it's a line chart.
So in this year with the most amount of cash deposits, 2014, which month of that year was the most cash deposited into her account?
It was August of 2014.
Okay, and is that reflected by the yellow circle with a 1 in it?
It is.
And how much cash was deposited into her account that month?
I believe it was $13,200.
Wow, good month, huh?
And that was the month following the murder of Dan Markel?
It was.
How does that amount of cash...
So the best month of her life was the month of August 2014, with Professor Markel being killed, mid to late July. On the way to the end of July, 12 days away from the end of July, 13. Yeah, good month in August. Just one of those
deposited
things.
in August, compared to the other months in 2014?
It was the high.
Yeah, send Metrix a bullet bourbon. 6 bullet bourbons. Line them up. Support the channel. buymeacoffee.com, buymeabulletbourbon.com, link in the description, and that's awesome.
Highest of all the months.
But there's really not much to comment on today. I just feel like I'm sitting here as a viewer, to be honest, trying not to be bored. I'm going through the 5,000-page appeal document, just seeing if there's any, points of interest we can pull out just to have a quick look at. There are, but it's 5,000 pages long, so finding them. What is this? Recorded audio file transcribed by Yvonne Laflamme. Well, of when? Oh, that's the Dolce Vita recording again. We read that recently.
What was the second and third highest cash deposit months in 2014?
The second highest was October of 2014.
Okay, and what about the third?
July of 2014, sorry.
Okay, so the third highest was the same month as the murder of Dan Markel,
Yes.
and the second highest was the same month that the checks from Adelson Institute began being posted to her account, and she also received a breast augmentation.
Yes.
What do we see here?
This is another graph showing the cash deposits by month, but this is a bar chart. So the higher the bar, the more cash she would have received.
So looking at this 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, this 4-year span, which month?
See, I'd be objecting to this. I mean, all right, it's the same data. You're just putting it in bar charts and pie charts and line graphs and whatever else format that you can have to show the visual. That's just what would the objection be? You know, it's kind of repetitive.
Month in that 4-year span has the most.
Charlie Adelson in the post-conviction jailhouse calls is always going on about George's closing, where she kept showing pictures of the autopsy of Dan Markel. She put it up there. She kept it up there. She left it up there. They were all looking at the Markel's bullet head. He should have been complaining about the. She put a bar chart up there, then a line graph and a pie chart.
Amount of cash deposits.
It's the August of 2014.
It's not asked and answered. I thought that, Neverly, but it.
And what about the second highest?
The second highest was October 2014.
There's another objection that would be better. It's what is it? Let's think. There's one that fits it perfectly, like I don't know. I can't remember right now.
And the third?
July 2014.
So even looking at that 4-year span now, and not just the year 2014, those are still the 3 highest from all 4 years into her account, were those 3 dates we talked about before.
Yes, that's correct.
What do we see here?
This is an overlay of 2 sets of data. The red line shows her cash deposits by month, and the bars are showing her employment.
Okay, and what does the first black line represent?
The murder of...
So that was July 18th, 2014.
Cumulative. Yeah, thank you, Mary. That's I think that's a good one. Yeah. Objection, boring. That would be great. Objection, I'm bored and hungry and I want to go. Objection, can we order pizza and eat it at defense table? My client would like a large vegetarian supreme. Okay? With gorgonzola. Can we handle that?
14 that represents the date of the murder.
Yes.
And then the second black line that says bump on top represents the date of the bump.
Yes.
April 19th, 2016.
Yes.
All right. Looking at all of the red lines. Looking at all the red lines before the date of the murder. What was the amount of cash deposits in those 12 months before the murder? How much cash did she deposit into her account?
1 year before, she deposited $15,600.
And that would be like from July 2013 to June of 2014?
That's correct.
All right, looking at then in the 12...
Oh, here's something. Here's a motion filed on May 13th. There's that date again. 2022. Sealed ex parte motion to authorize and direct the Florida Department of Corrections to disclose the telephone calls of inmate Sigfredo Garcia. Comes now the state of Florida by and through the undersigned Assistant State Attorney, and moves this honorable court to order the Florida Department of Corrections to disclose the telephone calls of inmate Sigfredo Garcia for the time period commencing April 29th, 2022 and ending May 13th, 2022. In support of this motion, the state would show the following grounds. 1. The defendant in this case has been charged with first-degree murder, solicitation to commit murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. The defendant at this stage is Katherine Magbanua, by the way. 2. The Office of the State Attorney is conducting a continuing criminal investigation, specifically an investigation into communications made by the defendant's co-defendant, Sigfredo Garcia, who was convicted in this case of first-degree murder in October of 2019. 3. The Office of the State Attorney believes that during the time period indicated above, conversations between the inmate Sigfredo Garcia and another party have taken place relevant to the commission of the crime under investigation. See attached sworn affidavit. 4. In addition to information relevant to the criminal investigation, it is possible that during the course of the telephone conversations, there may be conversations between the inmate and other caller in which protected health information of the inmate is discussed. Therefore, a court order is required to disclose to the state the above-mentioned phone calls. The Department of Corrections is a covered entity under 45 CFR 160-103 and may disclose protected health information for law enforcement purposes as required by law pursuant to a court order, warrant, or a subpoena issued by a judicial officer. 5. The request for potential disclosure of protected health information held by the Florida Department of Corrections, which is not a party to this proceeding, to the extent it is relevant or irrelevant to the criminal investigation, is specific and limited in scope to the extent reasonably practicable in light of the purposes for which the information is sought. Further, the information sought is relevant and material to a legitimate law enforcement inquiry. 6. The need for protection from incidental disclosure of the inmate's protected health information is outweighed by the public safety need of law enforcement in this continuing investigation. Wherefore, the state respectfully requests that the court enter such order, the Florida Department of Corrections to disclose the telephone calls of inmate Sigfredo Garcia for the time period commencing April 29th and ending on May 13th, 2022. That's from Jack Campbell. And the sworn affidavit is what? Before me, the undersigned authority personally appeared Jason Newlin, who, after being duly sworn, deposes the state as follows. While monitoring jail calls placed by Katherine Magbanua from the Leon County Jail, I located several calls placed to Susanna Garcia. Susanna Garcia is the mother of Sigfredo Garcia, the co-defendant, and subject previously convicted in the death of Dan Markel. I was also able to locate several calls placed by Magbanua to Susanna, using other inmates' accounts. In a call placed within the past 2 weeks, Magbanua told Susanna she need her to answer the other phone that was calling her because she needed to speak with the subject. In a later call on May 10th, Magbanua had a 30-minute conversation with Sigfredo Garcia in which Susanna held two phones together to allow the two to speak. I am unable to determine how many calls have been completed in this manner by Magbanua, as she frequently uses other inmate accounts to place the calls. It is known that Sigfredo Garcia has only had 3.5 hours of phone communication in the last 2 weeks. Magbanua has had hours upon hours of calls in a single day. This office also has access to text communications from inmates in the Leon County Jail. In those text communications, there are indicators that Sigfredo and Magbanua have communicated in other ways, letters, cards, and possible verbal communication. Most of those communications have not been located. Susanna is often the middleman for these communications, as Sigfredo and Magbanua cannot have direct communication from two separate facilities without assistance from others. This office is requesting the court to permit the Florida Department of Corrections to provide call records for Sigfredo Garcia, blah, 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 blah. Interesting. I mean, we kind of knew that already, but I like it when we see it in black and white.
12 months following the murder. So from the red line for about the next 12 months, how much cash was deposited into her account?
She deposited $44,963.
So about 3 times as much as the entire 12 months before the murder?
Yes.
All right. And then right next to the line that indicates the murder, we see a giant red spike. What does that represent?
That represents that spike of cash that she put in between July and August.
And looking at now the bar graph around that murder line and the cash spike, is there any record of her being employed during that August cash spike where $13,200 were deposited into her account?
No.
So no bar during that part.
That's right.
What about from the day after Dan Markel was murdered, so July 19th, to just the end of August, those 6 weeks? How much was deposited into her account?
$17,300.
And then by the end of the next month, by the end of September, she's on the payroll at Adelson Institute?
Yes, that's correct.
You told us earlier that you analyzed the Adelson Institute records. What was the annual income for Adelson Institute, approximately?
Based on the records I have, about $2 million.
About
Hey, Anne, how you doing? As an actor, Anne says, as an actor, this woman is a great character study. I'm looking at her and thinking about how I will imitate this one day. Great. I'd love to hear all about that, Anne. But our good friend Golfer Girl, where's that picture of Lorraine Bracco? Let's put it up. Brought up that she does look like, oh shit, hang on. Whoa. Doesn't she look like Lorraine Bracco? They've got exactly the same glasses, same jacket, same cut top, hair. I mean, so funny.
$2 million a year?
Yes.
And was that profit?
No, I didn't do a profit calculation.
Okay. About how much money did Charlie Adelson make per year?
It varied between 3 and 3.5 million according to his bank records that I had.
And that was for each year between 2013 and 2016?
For each year, yes.
Okay. did he make money from not only working as a dentist at the Adelson Institute, but also as a traveling periodontist?
Yes, he also had some rental income and some land sales, real estate sales.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that you looked at the Adelson family bank accounts and investment accounts as well. Can you give us an idea of the total amount of money in these investment accounts in the years surrounding this investigation?
Yes, it's about 4.1 million to 5.8 million at the end.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier that you also looked at the individual family members' checking and savings account, their business accounts as well. Can you tell us what those amounts were?
Yes,
in June and July of 2014.
Yes, when you put all of the 32 accounts together, there was 8.1 million in June of 2014, and 8.1 million in July of 2014.
And that's just money in the bank, right? I mean, that doesn't include real estate, cars, other assets.
That's correct.
Or cash of theirs that they never put in the bank in the first place.
Correct.
Now, based on your review of the Adelson Institute, did their business give cash discounts for services?
Yes.
Were there records in Charlie Adelson's iCloud where he discusses providing cash discounts for services?
There was.
Okay. And I won't make you go through every single one of these, but are these messages where they talk about cash discounts for clients, the cash price for different services? They try to give people an incentive to use cash as opposed to a card.
It seems so, yes.
What is this here? Dr. Amy Weinberg. Hey, Doc. I have to put that wants... I have a patient that wants an implant on Friday and will bring $1,500 cash. Do you think you can do it? Erica Johnson. Hey, I just got a $100 deposit from Kayla Chowning. She will pay the rest $800 in cash. She'll be here on December 2nd at 1. Is that really how much an implant costs? $875 fucking dollars? Man, I am screwed. I am fucking so screwed.
And were there messages in Charlie Adelson's iCloud where he and Adelson family members are discussing having large amounts of cash?
There was.
Okay. And did they discuss how they keep it, that they keep it in piles or keep it in a safe?
Yes, they kept it in a safe and some reference to piles of cash.
Okay, I'm going to show you two different sets of messages. In this one, Harvey Adelson says to Charlie Adelson that he says, "Charlie, I spoke to Mom. We will take the $26,000 in cash."
Charlie, I spoke to Mom. We will take the $26,000 in cash. I booked your flights, and you have a seat next to Jerry on every flight except Dallas to Vale. Vale or Vale? They said at this point, when you get to the airport in Fort Lauderdale, you can get the seat. I would try sooner. I used Spark Visa credit card of $455, and the final cost was $719. There is no tax advantage for the $26K gift, except I have too much cash. Where do the problems end, Harvey, huh? How am I going to count all this cash? We'll have to staple it into $1,000 bundles. And would rather have your transfer from your personal account. I am already going to take a cash from the cruise with Junko. Love, Dad. What? What kind of fucking language is this? I just glanced at it, and I don't think it reflected the 6 or 7K payments I made in full in April, but I may be mistaken.
Then, sometime later, he seems to change his mind and says, there's no tax advantage for the $26,000 gift. I have too much cash.
Yeah, Neverly. No, I'm planning to go to the dentist around the corner maybe next week or sometime in June, and then just find out what they think I should do, and then maybe I'll go to Serbia.
And would rather you have it, you transfer it from your personal account. So here they're talking about one gifting the other $26,000 in cash, but then decide against it because they already have too much cash.
That's correct.
And then in this one, does this appear to be Donna Adelson saying, "Good morning, Charlie. I need to take $25,000 from your office checkbook, put it into Dad's office checkbook in order to break even this month. Can we do that? Do you have enough money in your office account to write that check? If you do, then Dad will move $25,000 in cash in the safe into your pile. Please let me know so we can take care of this today." And he says, "No problem."
We're the Adelsons. We just take a pile of cash and we move it from one pile to another pile. And yeah, and then we all count it together.
Correct.
So they're talking about moving large amounts of cash from one person's pile to another person's pile in a safe.
Seems so, yes.
And this safe would be at a place where Donna Adelson and Harvey Adelson are in control of it.
I believe so.
Just a second. That's all I have. Thank you.
Oh, finally.
Try not to break it.
Mostly watch out for those cords because we don't want to have any sound malfunction.
Hey, Ginger Snaps
Good
and
afternoon,
Acapella.
sir.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
And Pepe.
You recall that on page 2 of this exhibit, you were asked about Luis Rivera's financials,
Yes.
and you recall that you were asked whether you saw any spike in cash deposits over time.
For Luis Rivera?
You
No.
recall whether you were asked that question?
No spike of cash.
So you have a spike at the time of the murder. He's not withdrawing cash, correct?
Correct.
But over time, his habits go back to how they were before, right?
Yes.
So unlike Katie Magbanua, you don't see the cash keeping on going up, right?
Right.
With Luis Rivera, you see essentially a spike in cash and then nothing.
Well, the spike was from his direct deposits, but you're essentially correct. He had cash. Yeah.
Before, he would take the money out because he had no money.
Right.
But after the murder, he doesn't take any money out for a while.
That's right.
But then he runs out of money again.
It seems so.
So he starts taking it out again.
Right.
Different than Katie Magbanua, right?
Oh, yes.
Actually, the complete opposite.
Yes, he didn't put money in accounts apparently unless he had to.
With Katie Magbanua, the money just keeps going forward.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Dugan showed you some text messages. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And she showed you text messages regarding some car repairs.
That's right.
And on those text messages, Charlie Adelson has no problem whatsoever creating a paper trail and putting those car repairs on his credit card, right?
Correct.
And in fact, you were able to go to his credit card and see it, right?
That's right.
Katie Magbanua tells him not to put it on the credit card, right?
That's right.
And he doesn't listen to her.
No.
You were asked about a Lexus,
Yes.
right? A Lexus with, I think, if my eyes don't deceive me, had 160,000 miles.
I'll take your word for it.
You want me to show you it?
You know, sure.
May I approach?
You may.
Oh yeah, it's very small. Yeah, right.
It had 160,000 miles.
That's correct.
And you couldn't find any payment from Katherine Magbanua for that car, right?
I could not.
Are you aware that Katherine Magbanua came in here today and insisted that she paid for that car?
No, I didn't know she testified.
But you saw no evidence of any payment, right?
No.
From your forensic analysis, no payment was ever given, correct?
Not through the bank records.
Now, you also talked a little bit about the Adelson Institute checks,
That's correct.
and you talked about how those checks or the employment began sometime around October of 2014,
Yes.
and that was approximately 2 months after Professor Markel's murder.
Yes.
And the checks, they were after taxes, right?
No, there was taxes taken out of it.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
So the numbers we see here of $407.58, which every check is except the first one,
Right.
that's after the taxes were taken out.
That's correct. It's a net amount.
And the checks were for about 2 times every month, right?
Yes.
And so essentially the checks were for around $1,000 a month.
Yes.
And I think you testified that it looked like the checks were given at the same time, a bunch of them.
They could have based on being sequential.
And that would maybe be because the person giving them didn't want to see the other person that often, right? That'd be one reason.
It could be a reason, yes.
I'm hearing a lot of pages turning, Daniel Rashbaum, but not much content. What's going on? He's up there with a fucking big old binder of blank notes again. Just empty pages, turning them for the jury. You know, let's do the same. This is Daniel Rashbaum. This is his whole argument. Can you hear it?
Let's talk a little bit about the cash increases in her account. Now, you saw a spike in the cash increase. The biggest spike was the month after Professor Markel's murder, correct?
Yes.
But the cash just kept on coming, right?
Yes.
And when you do the math, by the year, it seems that she was getting paid in cash around $2,000 a month, right?
It varied, but yeah,
For the most part, it's right around $2,000 a month, right?
basically, yes.
I mean, to a T, right? I mean, let's look at it. I think we have it by year here. If you look at 2015, for example, you have her cash deposits at $26,000 and change, right?
Right.
12 months, $2,000 a month, that's $24,000, right?
Sure.
And in 2016, you have her cash deposits at around just under $12,000 a month, right?
That's
I mean,
correct.
sorry, just under $12,000 for the year, right?
Yes, correct.
And you have those deposits stopping in May.
That's right.
I'm not great at math, but that's
Yes.
about 6 months, right?
Right.
Now, if
Charlie's like, yeah. Fucking Daniel Rathbone was able to count the months from November to May, just straight off the top of his head, because we have the best, the #1 attorney in the world. Just pulled it out of the air. I'm not great at math, but that's about 6 months, right? Gasps from the jury booth.
Ms. Magbanua had testified today that she never got paid any cash after the first month, according to your forensic analysis, that would be a complete lie, right?
Yes, it would.
Let me ask you, when you do these graphs, the word murder isn't scientific, right?
Correct.
It could easily say extortion as well, correct?
I suppose, yes.
You talk about these piles and it possibly being the same safe. You don't know.
Daniel Rashbaum, you are not allowed to use the word piles. Now we know why he's been sniffing his finger all fucking trial long. Right? He's been fondling his own piles. Oh my god, he's been pinching the grapes. You know about these piles, don't you?
All the money. You talk about these piles and it possibly being the same safe. You don't know if all the money was in the same safe, right?
No, that's just they were moved from one pile to another.
Couldn't that be not a real pile? Well, parents, when they're leaving things to their kids, if some
Could it have been Harvey Adelson's piles? Oh my god. Harvey moved his piles.
someone lends them money, might they make a notation so that if they die before paying them back, they would put in their pile that they lent money to them?
I suppose, but it does reference pile in a safe.
Did you ever see any safe that had piles of cash with different Adelson names on it?
No.
Have you ever heard of people assigning certain items to their children when they die?
Sure.
May I have one moment, Your Honor? So we talked about that $2,000 of cash every month, remember?
Yeah.
And if you add that $2,000 of cash every month with the $1,000 of Adelson checks, what would that equal?
3,000.
Would it surprise you that Katherine Magbanua was paid $3,000 every month by Charlie Adelson?
Would it surprise me? No.
In fact, it would be consistent with your forensic analysis, right?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Redirect examination.
Defense counsel asked you about Rivera not having a cash bag. Did Rivera have a habit of depositing cash into his accounts?
No, he did not.
No, thank you. Did you look at the cash deposits for Katherine Magbanua every day for 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016?
Yes.
And are all of those spreadsheets also in here in addition to everything that we saw on the PowerPoint?
Yes.
And does she have a kind of what it seemed the defense was indicating, like a $2,000 payment in cash at one time every month?
No, they were always broken up. I think the highest deposit she ever put in was 2,000, though.
Okay, so in this report are each cash deposit she makes by day for every year, and are they all different amounts?
Yes.
Some as low as $43,
Yes.
some as high as $1,000.
Yes.
Okay. And so it wasn't a situation where she was coming to the bank every month, one day a month, and putting in $2,000.
No.
Okay, that was the accumulation of all of the money throughout those years that we saw.
That's right.
Okay. If she was being just given a $2,000 payment in cash every month, would it make sense to deposit that, or would it make sense to go back to the bank 20 different times that month with $40 and $50 and $600 and $700? What would make more sense, it would seem?
Well, I think she was trying to hide the fact she was putting in cash and flying under the radar, so she was breaking it up. So I don't know what she had to start with, but I just can only show what she was putting in the account in small increments to several accounts, sometimes the same day.
Okay. And looking at the cash that she was putting in, could this have been cash that she was, well, let me ask you this. Okay, when you looked at the messages from the iCloud, a couple of which we saw, was she asking Charlie Adelson for different favors?
Yes.
was she asking Charlie Adelson at time for cash or for loans?
Yes.
Okay. Were these friendly exchanges between the two?
Yeah.
Was she ever demanding anything from him?
No, I don't think so.
And were many times was he offering to do favors for her or different nice things for her or
Yes,
provide her with things?
They seem to have a good relationship.
Defense asked if a possible explanation for the sequential checks could be that she was getting paid a bunch at a time by someone who didn't want to see her very often.
What is the matter with her face? Clarita Labredo, smile. Turn that frown around.
Would another possible explanation be that she wasn't actually working there and someone was just handing her a bunch of checks at a time when they did see her?
I suppose that's possible too.
That's all I have.
Is Ms. Hall going to be recalled by either party?
I'd like her to remain under the rule, but I don't believe so, Judge.
You may step down, ma'am. Members of the jury need a break before we continue. Please raise your hand. All right, the bailiff will take you to the jury room. We'll resume with the testimony in 10 minutes.
"10 minutes? How many blinks is that, Charlie? How many blinks can you do in 10 minutes? 4,800? He could have been champion. He could have been world heavyweight of blinking. It's the exact opposite of a staring competition. Where are we going? Oh, who's this? The cop. The cop. The mystery cop. I've forgotten who this is.
Let's bring them up.
What star sign do we think the cop is? I'm going to say Capricorn. All Capricorns somehow look like a goat. Look at Sarah Dugan. She's so long and thin.
Everyone can be seated except the witness. Please raise your right hand, Sergeant Hale. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do, sir.
You may take your seat.
Thank you.
Sir, please introduce yourself and spell your name.
Good afternoon. My name is Corey Hale. I'm a sergeant with the Tallahassee Police Department, and my name is spelled Coreyhale.
How long have you been with TPD?
Close to 23 years now.
Did you have some involvement in the investigation regarding the death of Dan Markel?
I did.
As part of the investigation, did you interview a witness by the name of Jeffrey Lacasse?
Yes, ma'am.
To the extent we can remember Mr. Lacasse's testimony from last week, an issue was raised regarding the timeliness of a particular piece of information that he reported to you.
Okay.
This item relates to the defendant, Charlie Adelson, characterizing a dinner out with his sister Wendy after the murder as a celebration dinner. Are you familiar with this item that Mr. Lacasse gave to you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did Mr. Lacasse mention anything about this celebration dinner during your interview with him?
He did.
And when did you tell us, I guess, each time that you met with this witness?
I met with him pretty early on in the first part of the investigation, and then during that interview, it was my job to either include or exclude him as a potential suspect in the case. I'd have to refer to my notes to remember exactly.
Oh, it's Hale. Crazy Hale. Still in a job, are you? Or have you been relegated to a beat cop because you screwed up the investigation? What have you got to say for yourself, Officer Hale?
What the date was on that.
I was going to prompt you on it. Does July 21st of 2014 sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and did Mr. Lacasse come directly to you from somewhere out of town, the airport?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, and were you able to include or exclude him as a potential suspect in this case?
Yes, we were.
And which was it?
He was excluded as a suspect due to him being in another state at the time.
All right, so you were able to look at some documentation to confirm that that's where he was?
Yes, ma'am. His cell phone records as well as his bank records, and we also obtained video footage of him in Tennessee.
Okay, and was there a time when Mr. Lacasse reached out to you thinking he might have some more potentially relevant information to provide?
Yes.
When was that?
That would have been on August 12th.
Okay,
of
August 12th is
2014.
when he reached out, or August 12th is when he showed up?
He showed up on the 12th. He reached out on the 11th.
Okay, so on the 12th, he comes back into where? TPD to talk to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And during that interview on August 12th, is that when he gave you this information about the celebration dinner?
It is.
When did he report to you that he learned of this information about the celebration dinner?
I want to say it was a week or so prior to him talking to me.
Okay. And when was the celebration dinner itself supposedly, when did it supposedly occur?
I believe it would have been on July 31st.
All right, so he told you about this information within a week of receiving it?
Or so, yeah.
Okay. So it's incorrect to state that Jeffrey Lacasse waited until March of 2015 to disclose this information to law enforcement?
That's correct.
Correct that that's incorrect?
Yes.
Clear as mud. Were you able to find any text messages in the text messages provided to law enforcement in this case to corroborate that any such dinner between Wendy, or I guess including Wendy Adelson and Charlie Adelson, occurred during this time frame that Lacasse had this information about?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'm going to show you what I've marked as States 126. Familiar with this exhibit?
I am.
Are these the text messages that we're referencing that talk about this dinner?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Judge, I'd ask to move into evidence 126.
Any objections? Case 126 is admitted.
Permission to publish.
think it's so funny how they go to the effort of making these things look like they're really in text messages, right? With the speech bubbles, you know. They're just making that in PowerPoint. Going to the effort to put those little triangles on the side. So Charlie says, tell Wendy I will text her when I'm on my way. ETA 8:20. I'm taking her to Lincoln Road. Text when I should come downstairs to wait for you. Should I come downstairs? Yes, almost vacation time for me. I'm taking my sister out to dinner tonight. Someone has a smile going on. That's a pleasure to see. Thank you, Charlie. Give Wendy lots of Gatorade and water and Advil. Yeah, better have another pill. So, give Wendy lots of Gatorade and water. I think we can infer from that she was fucking wasted. And came back home with a smile on her face. That may actually be a problem for my leading theory, that Wendy came home from the celebration dinner with a smile on her face. Gotta write that down. Blank page. Seven hours, 5 minutes, 40. Wendy came home. Smiling. Celebration dinner.
And when were these text messages sent and received?
July 31st, 2014, and the times are listed beside the texts.
All right, and these messages indicate that Wendy and Charlie are going out to dinner, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
And also some reference there at 10:57 p.m., the last text message on the bottom right, that Wendy was feeling a little poorly at some point after the dinner.
It would seem so.
No further questions.
Very briefly, can we leave that up there? Yeah. See this text? Someone has a smile on, that's a pleasure to see.
Yes, sir.
Does that indicate that Wendy Adelson had been pretty upset for a long time, and her mom was commenting that she's finally smiling?
That's the way I understand it, yes, sir.
You can take it off. Now, Professor Lacoste told you that before he and Wendy broke up, he looked through her calendar and phone because he thought she was being unfaithful.
I believe so, yes, sir.
And his behavior suggested to you that even before the murder occurred, he knew that he was on his way out as her boyfriend?
I think that was coming eventually. I don't know if he'd accepted it at that point.
He reached out to you fairly frequently, unprompted.
Yes.
he complained that Wendy was unfaithful multiple times.
I believe he did mention that, yes.
He was upset that Wendy had broken up with him.
Yes, he was upset.
And when you interviewed him the first time, he didn't even bring up Charlie Adelson's name, right?
I don't remember specifically if he did it in the first or second interview.
He was uncomfortable, he told you, because he was giving a lot of information about Wendy Adelson, and he said to you, I'm uncomfortable because if she'd have me back, I'd go back to her, right?
He may or may not have said that. I don't recall specifically.
Now, he was upset that he was labeled a person of interest, right?
Yes.
And he thought that Wendy Adelson was responsible for labeling him a person of interest, right?
I'm not sure who he thought was responsible.
He was also upset that because he thought Wendy had referred to him as a stalker, right?
Yes.
And he sent you emails reflecting how upset he was about being labeled a stalker, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, regarding this celebration dinner, if he testified that he didn't tell you till March 2015 because he was too scared to tell you earlier, that would have been inaccurate testimony, right?
Yes, sir.
He told you that he learned about this supposed, we don't deny the dinner, but he termed it a celebration. He said that my client told Wendy, who told him that it was a celebration dinner, correct?
That's what he indicated to me.
And he told you that he had heard this from Wendy and from friends, right?
Yes, sir.
But he couldn't give you any names of any friends that he had heard this from, right?
He did not.
Did you ask Professor Lacoste why Wendy would tell him that at a time when they were broken up?
I didn't pry into it.
Now, did Professor Lacoste ever show you any of the notes that he had taken during the course of his investigation?
Not that I recall specifically, sir.
You don't recall him showing you pages and pages of notes?
He may have.
Did you tell him to destroy those notes?
No, sir.
During your investigation, you learned that Katherine Magbanua was on Facebook, right?
Yes.
You learned that she was on Instagram as well, right?
I'm not sure about that. I know about Facebook. I wrote a search warrant for that.
Under the name Katie Cash?
I don't know. Specifically, I did a Facebook search warrant.
And she was on Facebook, right?
Yes, sir.
May I have a moment?
Go ahead. Redirect examination.
No questions, Your Honor.
Sergeant Hale, you may step down. Will he be recalled by either party?
No, sir.
Oh, Your Honor.
Have a good day, Sergeant.
Thank you,
You're
sir.
released. Please call your next witness.
State Call Sergeant Chris Corbett.
Chris Corbett. We can't do Chris Corbett today, but we can have a look at him. We can just see how enthusiastically, look at him coming in. He's ready for business now. Look at him fucking briefcase in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give?
He kind of looks like Michael Douglas in Falling Down.
I do.
You may take your seat.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Take a second to get your laptop together.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
is one hell of a tie. The tie looks like it's made out of a prop piece of spandex from the movie Flashdance.
Not yet. It's still booting up.
I got you. Okay.
We can probably go on while it's
Go ahead.
coming to life here.
All right, great. Will you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your name for our court reporter, please?
Certainly. Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Corbett, and that's Corbitt, and I'm a sergeant with the City of Tallahassee Police Department.
And you mentioned you're a sergeant. What unit do you work in at TPD?
I currently supervise the Technical Operations Unit, and that's the section of the agency that's responsible for sort of all the high-tech or technological ways that we help out in criminal investigations. That includes things like computer and mobile device forensics, audio and video, CCTV retrieval, our LPR systems. We have a public safety camera system, all of those. And then what I spend most of my time doing, which is the analysis of communication records or analysis of phone records.
Yeah.
And how long have
And not just while I'm work. In fact, on my honeymoon to my wife, I spent the entire week going around Honolulu scanning for microwave towers.
you worked in the Technical Operations Unit at TPD?
For quite some time. I believe 2008 is when I started in there.
Okay. And how long have you been the sergeant supervising that unit?
2012.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about, well, we've heard a little bit about your experience, but your training and experience to be in your position?
Let's just check how long he goes on for. So he goes all the way to the end of the day. So that is... oh, quite a ways. Fucking hell. And that's just direct. So 2 hours and a quarter. You know what? Maybe for tomorrow's video, I know we're supposed to be doing a whole rewatch, but maybe I should watch it and, you know, maybe cut a few bits out. That financial analyst, it was good, but, you know, it gets a little fucking dry. I think we could have done it in half the time if we'd have just done an edited version. I think we might end it there and just, we'll have a Corbett day tomorrow. Let's try and get direct examination, cross, and redirect into one show. I'll take the time and go through it tomorrow and cut it down to size, metric size, bite size. Okay? So, yeah, I think it's only a 3-hour show, but that's good enough. We're on a good run, guys. We're still good. We're still good. And then after Corbett, let's just have a little preview of day 4. What have we got coming on day 4? How do we do that? Charlie Adelson. Trial. Day 4. So we're going to have Guessing there's a bunch more Corbett in the morning. Yeah, Cross. What kind of ties he got on there?
The call pattern.
Wow. Blue, blue, blue. Right, so he's running. Whoa, again, another big Corbett day. Huge witness for the prosecution, which means obviously the state's got to spend a good deal of time with him. The defense has got to spend a good deal of time with him too. Fucking hell, he's half the day. We've got to cut that down. We'll be doing him for 3 days if I don't cut it down. Then what? There's the lunch break. Ooh, oh, this guy. What's his name? You know, the guy that did the... that got the... Oh, thank you, Amy, for the super chat. The guy that did the Dolce Vita enhancement, audio enhancement. He's good. Oh, then back to Sanford. And then... Look at Sanford here. Oh, I hope you're going to wipe those things down. I don't want your fucking scalp grease all over the headphones, Pat, okay? Can you spray that with some fucking disinfectant or something? His head's going to be extra polished when he takes those headphones off. And then it's straight into Charlie, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, so it's Corbett. And then I forget his name. What's his name? McLean. McLean. No, it's McLevine, I think it is, yeah. Then Pat Sanford, and I think that's the state's case. Let's just check day 5 while we're here, so we all know what we're doing. This is going to be Charlie's day. I recognize the tie already, even though he's not in the witness stand yet. Let's just have 2 minutes of that, huh? 2 minutes of Charlie on the stand. A random 2 minutes of Charlie Adelson.
Yeah.
Oh, still with Pat Sanford.
Back it up to maybe like 4:30.
Oh, who's this?
Experience of that motion and of getting disbarred and of Wendy Adelson being disbarred as a result of that motion.
Objection, relevance.
Your Honor.
Approach.
Whoa, that's fucking Garth. Garth's doing an examination. I don't even remember that from watching it originally.
Your Honor, the defense calls Kristen Adamson.
Miss Myers.
I know it's unfamiliar, but all the way up here, Miss Adamson. Please raise your right hand. If you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth. You may take your seat.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Adamson.
Good afternoon.
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Kristen Adamson, and I'm attorney at law. I was Wendy Adelson's lawyer in her dissolution of marriage action.
Where did you attend law school?
I attended law school at Florida State University. I graduated in 1988.
Are you a member in good standing of the Florida Bar?
I am.
Do you specialize in any areas of practice?
I do. I specialize in marital and family law. I'm board certified since 1994, I think, in marital and family law by the Florida State Supreme Court. I also am a fellow in the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, former president of the Florida chapter. I'm a fellow in the International Academy of Family Law Lawyers. I have been named a Florida super lawyer in family law and best lawyers in America since 2008, specifically Tallahassee Best Family Law Lawyer in 2012 and 2021.
You mentioned earlier that you are a board certified lawyer. What does that mean exactly?
To be board certified, the Florida Supreme Court promulgates a list of criteria that you have to become board certified in a specialty area. And you have to pass a test, both written and oral, and a peer review by your peers and the court as well. And you have to pass all three of those things in order to become board certified.
You mentioned...
Okay, well, I'm fucking board certified listening to you. Look at Miss Myers. You see, Miss Myers will probably spend the rest of her life wondering, why don't I have as good hair as Georgia and Sarah? What's wrong with me? This is my good day. This is my good day. Georgia Kaufman could roll out of bed, fall down the stairs, and be attacked by a wild pack of dogs, and still come out looking better than Miss Myers.
You mentioned in your introduction that you were Wendy Adelson's attorney in her divorce proceedings against Professor Markel. When were you retained?
I was retained, I think, approximately October of 2012.
Did there come a time during your representation of Wendy Adelson that you filed a motion to allow her to relocate to South Florida?
I did. I filed that motion almost immediately after I was retained. I filed an amended petition for dissolution of marriage to request that she be allowed to.
We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. You know, we shouldn't watch this now. We should all just let it happen in the flow. Otherwise, you know, this is what happens. We mix and mix and mix, and then we skip, and then we miss something, right? Got to go through it piece by piece. But anyway, I'm still going to have a sneak preview at day 6. Because we all know what Charlie's like on the stand anyway. I mean, no surprises. I just want to hear a couple of minutes of him before we go. Jump up, Soap. You've got a whole couch there with your name on it. Jump up. No complaints. No complaints.
And we went to the melting pot, and I remember her telling me that they were having issues, and it was pretty serious.
Did she...
So I said, if I want you to be happy, and I'm keeping Katie happy, and my sister should be happy, so if you're not happy, you can make a different choice. And he's pushing your buttons. I said, well, why don't you push his buttons and see what happens? I just love Charlie's attempt to represent himself as some sort of reasonable human being. You know the bit when Georgia says, so do you remember what the conversation was just before Wendy threw up on the dinner table? And he's like, probably, how's the food? You can just imagine Wendy and Charlie sitting in a fucking 5-star exclusive $300 a plate restaurant. How's the food? Is it good? Is it to your liking? Would you like something else? Would you like to change your food? Would you like to taste my food?
Tell you that they were going through marriage counseling.
Yeah. That's what I found out, and I guess that's what I was going to say, is like, have you tried to work things out? And that's when I found out that they had been in counseling for 6 months. I didn't know about it before.
Yeah, I don't think they've been in counselling at all. I think that's a lie to make them look like reasonable.
Now, what
does anyone know if that's verified by any reliable source? Counselling, Dan and Wendy in marriage counselling for 6 months prior to the divorce, or her leaving at least. It seems from everything I know to have come as quite a surprise to Professor Markel. Color bars, maybe that's our message to get off.
they put them in for their own purposes. I think I should be allowed, under a 403 analysis, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, to put in the text messages, to show the pattern or lack of pattern of anything. And that's what these text messages show. But I can just ask the questions, but I would like the record to reflect that under a 403 analysis, it was allowed for them. It's not being allowed for us.
I wouldn't exactly say it boils down to being that simple, but your objection is noted.
Oh, fuck's sake. I just want to hit Charlie.
And the $1 million offer.
What did you say?
And the $1 million offer.
She's like, just come sit down. I need to talk to you.
Where did you go?
We walked into the living room.
And what happened when you got to the living room?
We sat down on the couch, and she started to talk to me. And she said, listen, this is all my fault, but I had no idea anything was going to happen, but this is totally my fault. I spoke in too much detail about your family's personal problems, about your sister, Dan Markel, and the $1 million offer.
And in Charlie's head, he sounds like someone who is recounting an actual event and not a story. This is all my fault. She came in, she was upset. She sat me down on the couch. She said, this is all my fault. I blabbed my mouth. I spoke to my friends. I told them about your sister's bad marriage and the dissolution of the divorce and the relocation and the $1 million offer.
What did you say?
I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, my friend killed Dan, and he wants to be.
My friend killed Dan. Okay, I gotta go, guys. We'll get to Charlie in the next couple of days. We'll do the whole goddamn thing. We gotta say goodnight. We gotta say adios. Thank you so much to everybody in chat. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the supporters. Thank you for the moderators. All great to see you guys. We'll be back. I think we'll be back tomorrow. I do have to go to the town hall, though, tomorrow, which is why I want to kind of get to sleep a little earlier tonight. Because you got to get to those places early, you know what I'm saying? I was thinking maybe just do a really late stream and then go straight there, but I don't want to do that. That's brave thinking. That's brave thinking at 4:50 in the morning, but we all know when it gets to 8:45 a.m., that bed starts to look real nice. Anyway, we're going to bed now, so, well, ish. Soon, maybe have some cornflakes. And, yeah, we'll probably be back tomorrow. So thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Adios!